Call the meeting to order. Kevin, would you do the roll call, please?
Okay. Well, we have 4 members present. Susan Sharks and Diana Colhammer is not here yet. I believe Diana's coming, so we do have a quorum.
Any additions or corrections to the agenda? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion for approval of the agenda as it stands. Wait a second.
Second.
Who seconded?
No move was but 2 seconds.
I did, but no one heard me, so Ann can have it.
Okay.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Approval of the minutes from the September meeting. We all had a chance to read through the minutes as printed.
I move to approve the minutes as written.
I second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. On to the director's report. Kevin.
Okay. Welcome, Diana. So I have the written report, my written report. And it's nice to report that we have heat in the library, so that's a good thing this time of year. The other thing I'll just note is we are in the midst of that transition to that new bank account. We transferred about a little more than half of the funds. And so once all of the, I think probably all of the outstanding checks have cleared, but probably by the end of the month, they should all clear and they'll be able to close that account, transfer everything else over to the new account. I just want to point out, you all knew this in advance, but at the SDLA conference, Zach was awarded new librarian of the year. So it was nice to see a surprise. So yeah, 2 months ago they didn't get to spill the beans and congratulate you.
I do think Zach's mother knew ahead of time.
Yeah, it seemed like everyone knew ahead of time because I went out to supper with the Augie crew, and the Augie crew knew before any of us, so before I did, and
Congratulations.
Yeah, you were surprised.
yes.
Awesome. So everyone did a good job. They stayed in their lane.
Yes,
No one said anything.
as it should have been.
Yeah.
I know Zach can say anything else he wants to, but last night was the third, Verna K. Boyd was the third of our November Native American Heritage Month speakers. There were nearly 20 people there.
I had 22 people there. So we've had, for the 3 programs that we've had thus far for Native American Heritage Month, we've had 66 events.
Fantastic. Really wanted to go with Sean Flynn, but I was out of town.
So I guess those were the things I wanted to highlight. Any questions about anything from my written report? Jean Patrick's written report is there. She continues with regular weekly story time and bi-weekly bilingual story time. She's done some. Just today went out to one of the preschools, so they enjoy having her come to story times at the preschool. So
How about when she puts in those comments that the little kids say,
Yeah.
like, they want to come to our house, the library.
So, and that's that. We are, as you all really remember, we got $15,000 from the Sam F. Weller Family Foundation here in town. She and I have been working, and we just had a meeting today with a sales rep looking at some new furniture, some display furniture, so that kind of we can have a more unified look for displaying, the children's books in that area. But so we're working on making some decisions there. So that was Jean's, and then before kind of touching on Zach's report, I wanted to then, since Zach talked all about more of an in-depth analysis of our overdrive, overdrive, I'll just switch to our library usage. And so we are continuing to, see growth this year over last year. Total circulation, we are only about 10,000 away from what we had all of last year. So we will have much higher circulation for 2023 than last year. We've held more programs so far this year than last year, and we're only about 900 away in attendance from last year. So, and then just visually, you can see that, and circulation by month. Now, the October circulation right here where I'm hovering, it's a nice increase, and part of that will be from, we'll go over with the discussion of overdrive, but we did see a nice jump there. Traffic has continued for the same pattern for most months this year, where every month was higher than the same month last year, except for August and September. But every other month we've seen higher traffic in the library this year, so that's great. And let's see. Oh well, revenue-wise, we've already taken in more money. And a large part of that is due to the increase in the fee for subscription membership. So, and then programming, you can see the green for October. We were a little higher than last year. So I think we're doing well usage-wise. So now we can go back to, I guess, any questions about just library usage? Zach, for his report, did more of an analysis of our overdrive usage, and we also, after SDLA, decided to join other libraries in sharing our holdings, our purchased holdings, with others in the state. Other libraries have been doing that for up to 5-6 years, and so we wanted. So our patrons have been able to take advantage of other libraries sharing their collection with us. So we thought that we should do that as well.
As I understand it from being at the library convention, local patrons still have priority for the local books before outlying libraries do.
Yeah, so if we are sharing a title, but then a Mitchell patron places a hold on it, then they go to the top. And there could be 10 people in the queue, but the Mitchell person then would go to the top of the queue, unless there's another Mitchell person, but I mean, they would still come ahead of all of the other people. And so, I mean, there's a lot of data in here, but you can see, I mean, here are some of the other libraries in the state that have shared their collection. And are these just 2023 numbers?
These are just 2023 numbers.
So,
How many things they've shared, or?
no, how many things Mitchell patrons have checked out of their holdings? So, it's interesting to see that, Mitchell patrons have checked out more from Madison, a smaller library, than Aberdeen. They checked out more from Beersford, a much smaller library, than Pierce Library. And Beersford's smaller than Vermillion, too. So, and so this graph shows just, we participate in the statewide consortium. So the blue portion of the bar is our patrons checking out titles from the consortial holdings. And then the orange portion of the bars are our holdings and the number of items that Mitchell patrons have checked out from our holdings. So you can see even our patrons take advantage of the consortial holdings. There's a lot more there. So there's a lot more to choose from than even what we own. And then the next graph shows the gray portion. Well, the blue and the orange are the same, and they're the same numbers as up here. But then added on top of that, the gray portions are then the other libraries' holdings and our patrons checking out items that were purchased by other libraries. And so there was a big jump in that. And in fact, you can see that, by the second year, 2019, Mitchell patrons were checking out more from the other libraries that shared their collections than they were from our library. And so that continued to increase. So now the green is just the month of October, where we shared our collection with others, and in less than 1 month, because we shared it on October 4th, in less than 1 month we had over 1,500 circs of our holdings by others in the state.
These
So,
are all e-things, right?
yep, either ebooks or e-audiobooks. Yeah, the downloadable audiobooks or downloadable ebooks. Yep.
So this is probably like if I go on the South Dakota Overdrive, I have more choices. I've always had more choices than if I just go to Libby.
Well, it's the same platform, so you have the same number of
Yeah.
choices.
Okay.
Yeah, it's same company, different app, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Overdrive,
One is better.
there were two apps. There was the Overdrive app, that was the original, and then the Libby app. And Overdrive has done away with they've discontinued the Overdrive app, so you can only use Libby now.
But on my computer.
Or on your computer, you can, yeah,
So they should be the same.
but it's the same, yeah, it's the same titles that you have access to.
Yep. And truthfully, I think the graph above had other libraries not started sharing in 2018, I think those numbers would have been much more flat. Because the way that I thought about this yesterday while I was out shopping, if you think about how like freeway systems are developed, you have one lane of traffic, and for some the solution is, well, we're just going to put in another lane, but that doesn't actually solve the issue, it just drives more demand. So we had our first lane, which was our physical collection. We added the second lane, which was our Libby collection. And then the third lane being that shared, what other libraries have shared with us. And it has just driven much more demand for ebooks and audiobooks. And frankly, I see it in the data that I work with just about weekly. God, what is the Flower Moon movie that came out?
Killers of the Flower
Yeah,
Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon. Statewide, there are 158 holds on that title, and we have 10 of them. So, But, and Kevin really didn't talk about it, the costs that we have through Overdrive are much more significant compared to our physical collection. I used one book, Obsessed by James Patterson, which released this past year. For us to purchase it through Overdrive, that book is $75. Yeah. Dreamtown by David Baldacci is $75, and we only get access to that title for 24 months.
That's the only way that the publisher allows it, is the ebook.
Yep. So we could probably purchase Dreamtown by David Baldacci for about $16.80 as a physical item and have it for 5, 10, 15 indefinitely, depending on how well the condition is. But when we purchase stuff through Libby and Overdrive, we've got it for 24 months and we're spending $75. So by sharing our titles with the rest of the state, we're making the city dollars that we invest in this go that much further because we can drive down costs. So I even did that. So with Dreamtown, our cost per cert for $75, we had 6, was $12.50. For reference, cost per cert on our new book shelf is $6.66. By sharing it, we got that cost down to $6.81. But the other great thing about it too is that we can also help the consortium diversify their collection by doing this, because when that shared copy goes into the collection, then the consortium doesn't have to purchase as many copies. So they can buy a wider range of materials while we, the libraries, can turn around and say, hey, we got you. We'll help you get those holds down.
So we wanted to, with making the decision to, share our collection, we wanted to talk about that, but also just give you a bit more information on how Overdrive works and, the costs and but how all of us pooling our resources together, is benefiting the state. We don't have a statewide library card that you could take your Mitchell library card and go to Pierre and check out from their library, but through Overdrive and by the sharing, at least in the digital world, we do have that. So that's a nice. Yeah, and we have resource sharing through interlibrary loan, but 25 years ago, when I first. 30 years ago when I first started, at SDLA conference, there was, there were discussions about a statewide library card, and some libraries were in favor of it, other libraries weren't in favor of it. They didn't want to do that, but at least for digital, we've achieved that.
It's really interesting to see the data. So thank you very much for putting it together. And it helps to understand something that we don't know much about.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and the whole digital thing is, it's not, copyright is almost not as important as licensing.
Yeah.
Because you don't, you buy the physical item, you buy the physical book, and you can't make a copy of it. But because we purchased it and it's our physical item, we can check it out, we can sell it, we can give it away, we can do whatever we want with it. But in the digital world, you sign a license agreement and you have to abide by that license. And so publishers will say, we'll license this to you for a 24-month period. And then after that, if you still want it, you have to pay for another 24-month license period. We tried to get as many of that bottom one there in that bottom table, the OCOU,
One copy, one user.
one copy, one user, that then we we're still buying it, it's licensed to us, but it's ours kind of forever, like a physical copy. I mean, they do that, and only one person can use it at a time, whereas the 24-month period, I think, is one user too.
Yeah, the only one that you can, there are two models that you can have concurrent users with, and that's that top table, that fourth one down, MA by checkout concurrent users. And those ones are, instead of having it for like a 24-month period, we have it for so many checkouts. And usually it's like 26 or 52. The other one is cost per circ, which pretty much we would pay about $5.50 from what I've seen for every time someone checks it out. So instead of us buying the book up front for $75, if 3 of you guys in this room checked it out, we would pay $15, like $17.50. So we would get billed that instead of having it for a set period of time. And the consortium does that with certain titles, and it's nice, but you have to manage it. You can't set it to like automatically stop at a certain point. It takes a lot more staff time to do a cost per cert. And simultaneous use, typically you only see that with academic titles, and we don't purchase a lot of those.
Like McGovern Library subscribes to an academic ebook collection, and that collection, multiple people could check out the same book at the same time. That's just, but it's a completely different model. But for popular fiction titles, publishers, I have a silver a barrel.
They say
But
it's,
we have to provide this format too, because people want this format now. And as you can see, I mean, especially with COVID, I mean, just even the consortium and in our holdings, you know, there's a big jump in 2020. So, because people didn't come to the library. So, and then there was and then with the shared titles from other libraries, I mean, a big jump there too. So, the sharing is a good thing.
for
But
everyone.
we hadn't been doing it, and we wanted to reciprocate, so any questions? So that's the director's report.
Oh, I do have one other thing to add that wasn't included. Last week I had 2 days where I was visiting the high school. I presented to 6 classes and a study hall session. I think I got about 150 students in those 2 days. It was mostly English classes, and we focused primarily on library services, events, and Libby. So, yeah, that's a lot of that. Sorry.
So yeah, doing some outreach to the high school.
On to the
We could
financial
have a,
report.
or do
need
we
to
want to?
approve?
Yeah, we
Correct.
typically do.
Okay.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay. Yes.
Okay, so now, financial report, but bills. I have 4 bills to submit for approval. Last month, Zach came to me and asked if I would order some beeswax sheets for candle making for an adult, for a teen program. So I went ahead and ordered that, and that was $63.98. And then the SDLA membership for you all, it was up for renewal, and so that $21 apiece, so it's $126. The Quiznos, I have an explanation for that. Last month, we hosted the State Library Regional Training on policies, and the State Library asked if we would write the check to pay for the lunches for all of the participants, and then they would reimburse us with a mini grant of $300. And so the lunch bill was $234.32. We haven't received the grant yet. They're still working through the bureaucratic departments to get that payment processed, but we will be getting that. I'm sorry? Well, yeah, I mean, they said, they realized that it would be a little extra and that then we could do whatever. And then the last one is for our EnvisionWare, which, manages our computer logins, use and printing, managing the printing. And, if you think back a year plus ago, when we were going through the budget process for 2023, we had gotten EnvisionWare, through a grant in 2022. It wasn't approved for our 2023, and Stephanie said that the board, should pay for that since we were getting the printing income, and this managed our printing. And so that bill has come. I actually had the city pay for it just to get it paid, and then we would need to reimburse the city for that. But I requested that item again for 2024, and it was approved to be included in our 2024 budget. So we'll just have this 1 year of that we have to cover that. So those are the bills that I'm submitting.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Yep. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, and then for financial reports, bank statement for the past 2 months. Here is the September bank statement. At the end of the month, we had about 1,500 more than we started September. And then the October bank statement, we went up about 300-ish there. Our just the library board's account, our revenue and expenses for September, we took in 1,553 right here. I'll make that bigger. And for expenses, we had 967. We had some bills for programming. And then for October, we took in almost 1,950 in revenue. And for expenses, we had 1,640. We had some program expenses again, and a little bit, children's programming like the Read for the Record, adult programming. We had to pay for the speakers for the Native American speaker series. And then we had travel expenses for paying for Denny to go to conference, and we had hotel, and also his registration for that. So that's how we did and then for how we're doing through November 8th for the full year. Again, total income, we are 23,168 compared to 18,588 for last year. And you can see we are about almost 1,500 more in book sales. Copies, almost the same, 63. I'm sorry?
I said, must be from those couple truckloads of books that were.
Yeah. Subscriptions, membership subscriptions, were like 1,900 ahead there. And then another big one, I had mentioned this earlier this year already, but interest. We've been making over $100 in interest this year compared to last year. Through October, we'd only made $42. So that's, and then our expenses this year are about 13,800, and no, total expenses about 15,400 compared to 29,455. And last year, again, some of that was for the furniture, for the end panels. And then for the library budget, through October, salaries were, in line there. And for current expenses, overall, we're at about 80%, which is where we need to be at this time of year. And we still have to get going on spend audiovisual, for CD, audio, our physical audio books, we're not going to spend all of that. And for next year's budget, I've requested, and it was approved, to reduce our audiovisual amount and transfer some of that into ebooks and spending more because people are using more of our ebooks than that. So.
Do them all though, has to have audio.
What?
So don't do them all though.
No. We will continue, but we reduced it because the amount that we're actually ordering every month is, less than what we won't spend it all. So, any questions about any of the financials?
So we have a motion to approve or accept.
I saw them.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed and carried. On to business items and policy.
We're bringing forth updated collection development policy, and this we decided to redo this after that policy training session that the State Library put on in October. There was some discussion, from other libraries about their collection development policies. So the main things, I'll just kind of go through it. I edited, updated the community description, with updated numbers there from the Census Bureau. So that's kind of minor. The purpose, the authority is the same. This intellectual freedom section is a new section. This first paragraph, we moved from a different section and then added this second paragraph, just distinguishing that, families are responsible, parents are responsible for deciding what library items are appropriate for their own children, and that, we don't intend to intrude on that. And then in our previous policy, we had stated, we had made reference to American Library Association's Library Bill of Rights, but looking at some other collection development policies, we decided to add in the ALA's freedom to read statement, freedom to view statement, and access to library resources and services for minors. Just make reference to those as well. And, there's a link, then anybody who wants to read those can click on the hyperlink and go to that. And then continuing to say that we comply with South Dakota codified law regarding library materials. The scope of our collection section, that is still unchanged. Maybe just a minor editor here. Selection of materials, that's also pretty much the same. And then the gifts and donations, the same. So then the other collection maintenance is the same. And so then the expressions of concern, challenges to library materials, expressions of concern about library resources. This is probably the biggest change. In our previous policy, or our current policy, I should say, that bulleted section was more of a kind of a timeline numbered section, and with some specific time periods that a person submits, and then the library director but the person would have like 30 days to change their mind and withdraw it. And then after that, the library director would respond within 2 weeks. And based on hearing other libraries' experiences, especially Siouxland's, that receives a lot of challenges, they said it takes a lot of time to do a thorough response and review the material. And so, to have a black and white time frame of, oh, you have to respond with this is just not a good thing. They try to accomplish like 2 reviews a month. I mean, we fortunately haven't had any challenges yet, but if we were to get all of a sudden a group of people say this list of books, we want to challenge this entire list of books, and we would get 10, the previous timeline was not doable. And again, I had this reviewed by Justin, city attorney, and he thought this was good. And then still says that if the person isn't satisfied with the director's decision, they can appeal to the board, and the board will review it, and the board's decision is final. And then another thing, this last paragraph is also new, stating, and we didn't have anything in our current policy, stating that if something is challenged and it's under review, it will remain in circulation until the review is finished and the determination is made. Also, then the next sentence, if the challenge materials retained, then we will not perform any additional reconsideration evaluation of that same title for a period of 5 years. Other libraries have experienced that, they get a challenge, they make their decision, and then a few months later, somebody else challenges it. Well, they would just go through the same review. So if we review it once, we won't review it again for 5 years. We may weed it in less than 5 years, but we're not going to review it under this procedure.
Is the statement of concern, are there any guidelines for that, or just a paragraph or whatever?
You mean for somebody? No, we have.
For someone to.
Yeah, no, we have a form, and I brought it, so I
Okay.
can hand this. And the form, we don't have it as part of the policy, because if we would say, oh, there may be another format or something that we want to add, then we don't have to bring that back for approval. The form is, I say, more procedural, but we added a couple things, and people have to fill out a complete form for an individual title. They can't list 10 books on one form. And so they have, if they want us to go through all this work, then they have to go through some work too.
And I notice it says on here that you're asking them to explain how the material fails to meet intellectual freedom standards.
Well, and that's why, another reason why
You've got the link
we
there.
added that section into here, and we would, give them a copy of this policy, and that they can read about intellectual freedom, so that then they can say,
Then they know
yeah.
how to answer that, yeah.
Well, it looks like you did your homework on that, so
Yeah.
I think it's very complete.
Very
Well-
comprehensive.
Thank you.
We have a motion to approve the policy?
So moved.
Second? Yep. Further discussion?
I think I have a
Everyone?
question.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. The links, the words don't exactly match what it says on the form. I wonder if that might be confusing for people. Or did I miss something?
I don't know that we say on the form
It-
the ALA bill, Library Bill of Rights, or the
It
Freedom to.
says intellectual freedom in capital, as if that is a document that they need to go and look at to understand the policy or something. Do you see
Okay.
that on there?
Yes.
Thank you. I will,
So I thought that was
We'll
the
look
main
at that.
thing I would look for.
okay,
Yeah.
we'll look at that and make sure that it,
Just maybe add in, you know,
Where they
There.
find that information, you know?
Yeah.
some possible links are included in that part of the policy or something like that. Somehow just refer to that.
okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Do you notice that?
Yeah.
Further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the policy signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed and carried. On to section B, action to approve library closure.
At our September meeting, I, gave you the dates that, for holiday closures, will be closed. We are closed for, on Friday, the 10th for Veterans Day. And we're closed on Thanksgiving. And then with the administrative day that employees get, we're closed on Friday after Thanksgiving. Looking towards Christmas, Christmas is on the Monday, the 25th. I mean, it's always on the 25th, but that's on a Monday, so we'll be closed that day. Christmas Eve is on Sunday, so we'll be closed on that day, but then the union contract specifies that employees get a half a day for Christmas Eve, and since it falls on Sunday, we will be closing on Friday afternoon for that. And so with being closed Friday afternoon, Sunday, and Monday, we don't really expect many people on Saturday of Christmas weekend. They're going to be coming in. And so I'm requesting that we be closed on Saturday the 23rd, and then all of our employees can have a 3.5-day weekend to do things with their family.
Or could they take the half day, the day after Christmas instead of?
No, because it's city policy. It's specified that it's, yeah. No, it's, if it falls on, and, it's in writing that city offices are closed on Friday afternoon.
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Communication is something to keep
It's
doing.
cold.
Yeah.
It's freezing.
Motion is approved.
We should really celebrate Boxing Day in America, and then we would have the 26th. Just saying.
You go for both the Canadian and the American Thanksgiving also?
Yeah.
No, not that, but the Boxing Day.
Yeah.
I Well, for my business, we have Boxing Day off as well, so they could put on that.
Next item is committee reports. No committees are active this time, are they? Except for
Strategic planning is.
the strategic planning committee.
Okay, committee members, you want to speak?
I can speak, I mean.
Yeah, if you would feel, I'll just, we met, we had our first meeting with the Strategic Planning Committee and a couple of representatives from the State Library. They were joining us via Zoom. And so here are the notes that they took. So, they kind of ran the meeting because they're going to be shepherding us through this process of, because they help, that's something that they do for libraries. And so they went over the overview of the process, overview the outcomes, and the timeline. And then we've already created the committee. And then we had some assignments of creating a list of community organizations. And so after our meeting ended with the State Library folks, a group of us sat around the table and came up with that list. And
What are some of those? Just, I mean, I don't need a complete list. I'm
well,
just
Daycares.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
homeschool.
daycares, English teachers, focus for the schools, we thought the English teachers in the high school and the middle school would be the best teachers to,
Okay.
because everybody has to take English, and then we wouldn't, double dip students. Families with young children, but also back to the schools, the library, the school library aides, also the PTA, PTO organizations, the chamber, service clubs, homeschooling families, and there's a group of homeschooling families that we're kind of an association that meets every so often in the library. Teens, stepping stone, look at stepping stones, Hispanic community, and then something that I added after we met, the county as well, county residents, and we serve them too. So that was the list. And so if you think of any other kind of constituent groups that we you should reach out to make sure that, that we would send the survey that we'll be developing, or having focus groups, because we wanted to make sure that all of those different constituent groups, respond and tell us their thoughts. So
I would
if you,
just maybe updates to like community center and maybe a nursing home, senior citizen population. They're Brady or Edgewood.
Yeah.
Edgewood.
so I will put down the retirement centers.
Sure. Yeah, James Valley Community Center. Let's say both residents and activity directors of those facilities.
Will there be a focus group of library patrons?
Well, all of the, we'll,
All of those could.
people who come in regularly to the library, we'll handle this too, yeah. But, one thing that they told us is, we want to make sure that we hear from people who use the library, but we also want to make sure to reach out to people who aren't using the library.
Find out why.
And find out why, and what we need to do, or how we get them to start using the library. Or, let them know about it. So,
Kevin, for the minutes, could you put in the list of the people who were on the strategic planning committee and inform the rest of the board who's on our committee,
It was
other
there
than
somewhere.
board members?
okay.
I read through
I miss it? Maybe I did miss it.
Did I add that in here?
We had a high school girl,
Did I?
who was the,
Oh, above that, yeah, there it is.
Oh, right here. I
I
added that
missed
in
that
here.
when I read through.
Yeah, this is,
that's Jean Nicole.
starting right here is from Cheyenne at the State Library. This paragraph I put in, so, yeah, I made sure to add that in. And I'll also say, I did say that subsequent to the meeting, I learned that Cheyenne, so Devin, Denny, Cheyenne won't be with us. It'll just be Kathleen, because Cheyenne accepted the director of Harrisburg Public Library.
Cheyenne.
She was the younger one, the dark-haired one.
Had a ponytail or something.
Yeah, well, she has short hair.
Lots of energy.
Yeah, yeah, but she kind of led most of the meeting, but and she had actually, had been some reshuffling in the state library, allowing people to learn some new roles, and so Cheyenne actually was put into Kathleen's old position, so now Kathleen will probably be going back and doing some of the strategic planning.
Do we have to pay them to do strategic planning?
No.
Right.
No, that's something that the state library, that's part of what they do,
Correct?
yeah. So that's kind of where we are. They sent templates of surveys, and it was interesting that, the template of the survey they sent was fairly similar to the survey we all created in 2021. We asked some questions about how satisfied were you with these services, and their focus is more how often do you use these services to find out just how much it gets used or not. And so I think probably for this purpose, we'll go with them. But it was I thought we did a good job. We did it ourselves. So and so we'll probably, and so I don't know if Denny, if you or Deb have looked at those templates. I think I sent them out and came up with any edits, or, I've gone through and edited, and Zach and I will be doing that. And so we'll be looking at after Thanksgiving, either the week after Thanksgiving or the first week of December, looking to get back together with
I
that
looked
group.
through them, I just think some of them we're gonna have to condense, because if you have too many questions, that
Yeah.
or do it
Yeah.
accurately or meaningfully.
And so that's also why they, also recommend having focus groups where then you get some people in and you ask questions and try to get some of the, ask them the same questions, but
And then staff survey too.
yeah,
That was
and there's a staff
another
survey
step.
too. So, and Cheyenne and I worked, Cheyenne knew where to go, and so, in like a day or two, she had census data that she sent to me, and then I asked her, I don't know if they've done it for any other library, but I asked, could you collect this for the 2010 census too? So that we as a group could see how initials changed in a decade.
Yeah, interesting.
Yes, and so that we see a trend there. And so the next day she sent it to me. Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of the report on that committee.
Very good. Any board input?
I do. So one of the things that Mitchell Main Street is doing is another window art contest. The window clings that were put on the building above, crazy about cupcakes and so on. And the theme this time is literary characters or literary something. So I think it might be interesting for somebody to have a chat with Ashley or Elizabeth and just see if there's any potential, additional connection there that could be made.
Well, they've talked to me, or
Oh,
at
they
least
have
Jerry
already.
has,
Okay.
about, and that we you know, we will do the same things of people can drop off their artwork at the library or whatever, yeah.
So is that what they are, is window cleanings?
That's what they are, yeah.
Okay, because I was trying to figure that out. Okay, it's great.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just think that it's big improvement. It was
It
great.
is,
But
it
I
is.
was trying, we were trying to figure out,
Mhm.
like, how did they get there?
Yeah, it's that weird sticky stuff that you can see through from the inside. So this year, the building will be the Woolworth building.
Okay.
So literary characters.
Or just literary something. Excuse me, I think that the theme is just literary. So it could be a character, it could be a symbol, it could be an image. You know, it's very, very broad.
Okay, cool.
Going on citizens input, I see.
Nothing that would be difficult.
Before adjournment, next meeting, next board meeting will be in January.
January 16th, I looked up the date. January 16th is the third Tuesday at 5:15 here.
And our training meeting, will
Well-
it be one in December?
Well, I wanted to ask that. I mean, December 19th is the third Tuesday in December, but
I'll be gone.
are you all
I'm gone.
okay? I mean, quite honestly, I mean, we had the state library staff. I mean, there were three or four of you there for that, so we got some training hours. Denny attended SDLA, and so he would have gotten probably over 20 or around 20 or so hours. So for 2023, we're probably doing really well on the number of hours, so
Do we get hours for the strategic planning?
probably.
I mean, it's
I-
learning.
Yeah, I can ask the state, I can ask Kathleen about that, to say, is that something that we can count towards?
There's two of us.
Well,
Three of us.
and, yeah, I mean, if Susan attends, then 3, so I will ask her that.
So is there a need for a December training meeting then at all?
I'm sorry?
I would vote no.
I second that.
So,
December,
yeah, I mean, it's December, I think everybody's busy enough.
and it's cold. It's dark, I just want to go home.
Okay, our next meeting will be the board meeting on January 16th,
All right.
5:15 here. If there's nothing else to come before the board, we will adjourn the meeting.
At 6:13.
You want the gavel or what?